Voices of the Millennials. I am your host, Elle De Lyon, aka Elle the Lion. Also, I go by the artist name Pretty Dope, and you can find my work at prettydope.art. If you want to follow me, you can also follow me at my name, all the letters, and then put the little at sign. Because folks were asking me last time why I didn't drop, where they could find me when they want to connect with me and give me the ideas that they have for this show. Because on this show, we have conversations that are shaping our generation being the millennials. I'm definitely a part of that group. And last week, let's do a little recap on what we talked about last week. Well, it was my number one show. I was first time ever on the Voices of Millennials, taking over the torch for Prince Ari, as well as Sam Charles. Thank you so much for your guidance up until this point, as well as DJ Jan. Thank you so much for this opportunity. All right, so we're going to get right into today's show by looking back, reflecting on what we talked about last time. And I thought it was really fitting that we just start right off the bat with defining what it means to be a millennial. And I gave you a top 20 list, my top 20 list about what kind of things I think that millennials are doing and what really identifies to the public that they are interacting with a millennial. One of the things, actually, when I was looking back at that list, I noticed that many of the things that were on that list had to do with technology. And I really recognize that technology, I think, is the one of the biggest identifiers of the millennial generation. The millennial generation has seen the fastest growth in innovations in technology of any group, that we have living thus far, especially when it comes to digital technology, because, there are many other technologies, but digital technology is one that is just really a huge part of being a millennial. That being said, I really wanted to talk about the relationship between social media, between all of these digital technologies such as Uber apps that allow you to basically get things at your convenience. These kind of technologies are really influencing the way that we communicate. It influences the type of jobs that we involve ourselves in, and the type of careers that we aspire to see ourselves in are heavily defined by technology. So I really want to dive further into that topic. And one of the areas that I think that when I started diving, deeper into that topic, and I really want to hear from everyone at home as well, like during the week after, you get a chance to listen to this podcast. If you're listening right now, you can drop comments. My team in the back will send them to me. And that being said, this is your opportunity to weigh in on this conversation. Let me know if you feel the same. Does anything that I'm saying resonate with you? And now I've said a lot of things, right? I've said a lot of things. I talked about what we talked about last week, which was just my top 10 ways of identifying that you are a millennial, millennial signs, millennial moments, millennial musings, all of that, right? And that being said, we've talked about, my signs. I want to hear from you. I heard a lot of signs during the week. And one of the signs brought me to another topic that we're going to delve in today. I'm trying to give you, the rundown of how things are going to go. And I hope that you're doing well out there. And if you are feeling away, because it's about 7 o'clock right now, and that's when we, are here live on Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And I'm so thankful again to be here. And if you're just tuning in, I am your host, Elle De Leon. That being said, we are going to delve into two big topics today. These are the most popular topics that folks, after hearing the first podcast, were very interested to talk more about. And I want to let you know that I am but a vessel. I really do see myself as just someone for you to see as a voice, like truly to be able to voice some of the things that you want to hear out in the public, maybe even to do the research so that you can figure out whether or not this is something that you should be paying attention to. So, the two topics that I've researched now are the relationship that we have with technology as millennials and, the way that it's impacting our lives. So we're just going to take a look at, just one or two things that I'd love for you to consider. And then I'd love to hear from you about what you think. Do you think that does it resonate? That's really what it's about. If it doesn't resonate, that's also fine. And then the second topic that we want to be able to get into today is mindfulness. And mindfulness is, I think, the way to help us develop a better relationship with technology. And it's definitely something that I have utilized to help me to overcome many challenges, not just, challenges that I might have with technology, but also with people, also with things, things that I'm trying to attain. There's many different ways that you can utilize mindfulness techniques. And perhaps some of you are at home right now like, What is even mindfulness about?" And I promise that we're gonna dive a little bit deeper into that. But first, what I will do, because I think, I like to give about 5 minutes of just chattering and let folks filter in. Hello, hello to everyone who's watching right now. You are listening to Afro Beat Radio right here on Love Bay Music Talk Online Radio. We stream on YouTube, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can find us on Instagram and follow us so that you can connect with us on our platforms where we're streaming live, YouTube and LinkedIn. Hello to everybody at home. All right, all right. So let's get into these topics. But one thing that I have realized, and this kind of brings my worlds together. So the social media world really comes into play here, as well as the mindfulness world. So all of these digital tools have really, spawned the revolution of technology really running our lives. A lot of us, if you are in North America, I will say especially, cannot really do without some of these apps. Last week, we talked about some of these apps, such as, and I mentioned it today as well, Uber. Uber not only can, get you places, but it can get things that you have places. The other day, a family member of mine actually was able to, their heel broke while they were out, and they called one of our family members and were able to get new shoes Ubered to them because they were the closest family member. Uber is expensive, but just saying, you are able to do the most amazing things that you were not able to do even when I was a kid, to be honest. Even the way that we're able to get in contact with each other so quickly is amazing. I remember, if you wanted to visit a friend, you would have to make that plan like way in advance. And it wouldn't just, and if you were in the neighborhood, you would have to knock on the door and ring the bell and hope that they were home, or that they wanted to see you. Now, I don't even know if a lot of people have or use their doorbells when it comes to like their friends and family coming over. They probably already know the door's already open. There's probably a camera. It is amazing, truly, the way that technology is now shaping our lives. And in shaping our lives, there's more things for us to be mindful of. There's, for instance, cyberbullying, people, having access to your lives because you give them access. We have our Instagrams, we let them in. But then at the same time, some people abuse that privilege, of having that access to you. And some people, they duplicate pages. We have catfishers out there. There's lots of things that we have to be mindful of. Also, information that you share with people, recognizing that that can be easily duplicated and easily disseminated or sent out, at an alarming rate, exponentially. And then, something that you did that you thought was only happening here suddenly becomes like that. So, that being said, things to be mindful of. And for me, that's where I brought these two topics together. They were the two top topics that everybody was DMing me about and saying, I want to know more about that. And speak more about that. So I promise this won't be the last time that we speak about this. But today is the first. All right. So I thought that something that's really important, and a mindfulness technique that really has helped me, is meditation. And for me, mindfulness is all about truly what the root word suggests: mindful, keeping your mind full of things to help you achieve the goals that you have set for yourself. That's what I define it as. Please let me know what your definition of mindful is, in the comments on YouTube, or you can follow me on Instagram and we can chat more about mindfulness or more about social media when we get into that. And so mindfulness is, again, keeping your mind full of the things that you know you need in order to achieve the goals you have set for yourself. That being said, also mindfulness is keeping in mind that other people also have goals that they have set for themselves, and they see steps as well on how they should get there. That being said, sometimes, just like, a traffic jam or someone who has ran through the light, basically there's this misfiring of communication. And now the thing that you want is actually standing in the way of me getting what I want, even though both of us want things that shouldn't hurt the other person, but timing is a huge factor and something to be considered. And in being mindful, now you can't, think of everything for everyone. So it's a set of principles that you come to define for yourself, of things that you're going to pay attention to ensure that you're paying attention, that, when your eyes are open, you're actually awake. And I think that that's, that term that has really been born in the millennial age, which is woke, being woke, staying woke. That's all about being aware of the things that, the obstacles as well as the opportunities. There are both. And I think that those obstacles and opportunities exist in every moment. They exist in every moment. And in order for us to sometimes see where these opportunities and these obstacles exist, and then develop, a plan or a design on how we're going to navigate those things, here comes, for me, this is how I found my number one mindfulness technique that I'm sharing with you today: meditation. Now, some people, I have found that since I learned meditation, which was a lot of years ago, I have implemented it so much in my life that I even went and I became a yoga and meditation teacher. And so, yes, I'm qualified to teach this and certified, but now I've found that, again, thanks to social media, a practice that was normally found in like ashrams and temples and churches, meditation, is now something that is available to so many people because of platforms like YouTube, for instance. And on YouTube, the platform that we're on today, here on Afrobeat rate on here on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. That is a mouthful. So please forgive me, y'all. It's going to take me a moment to really, get that all in there. But you're listening to Love Bay Afro Beat Music Talk Online Radio, and we're streaming live here on YouTube. And I was letting you know that YouTube is a platform. It's one of the places I would love for you to put into your tool belt, your millennial tool belt, to make sure. I talked about it last week. I have many degrees from YouTube University. And if you don't have one yet, you need to go get you one. I'm not saying that everything on YouTube is credible. You're going to have to do research. You might have to watch several people's videos to see if the information you're getting is consistent. And that, for me, is a way that I can kind of determine whether or not this is something that I should buy into. But at the same time, check out YouTube for that goal that you want to achieve, something you don't know. Promise me that today. Promise me that you're going to go on a platform and figure out a new skill, something you've been wanting to learn. Okay. It's springtime right now. we're planting seeds, and these seeds that we are planting will bloom into plants, flowers, and trees. All right. And so these are some of the seeds we're planting. And mindfulness, for me, again, connecting it back, is one of the ways that I am able to plant seeds. Because something that, and you might have heard this analogy before, but planting seeds, if you really like take in what it must mean or what it must feel like to be a seed, like just imagine yourself for a moment a seed. And if you will, at this moment, wherever you are, if you're in the car, please don't do this. You could just listen. But everyone else, close your eyes. Something that I love to do is take folks on a journey through meditation. And sometimes I find that closing my eyes helps me to negate the visual distractions. I'm a huge visual learner. So anything that I see in my periphery tends to take my attention away from what I'm doing. So again, meditation is actually a thing that helped me to overcome ADHD. It was a big part of, the way that my mind is organized. And that kind of lends itself to many different things that have happened in my life as a result. And I really didn't even know that any of this was related to me until I was an adult. Again, being an early millennial, I don't think that things like testing in schools and things like that were there in place. And kids who overacted were seen as needing behavioral redirection. And so that was for me a big part of my upbringing, especially when it came to school, was getting amazing grades. Like I got amazing grades, I'm not gonna joke about that, but then having a very hard time just interacting in the classroom setting in the way that it was set out, um, because of this overactive mind, right? And things like meditation were not very existent. And that's what I was speaking about, that now we are so fortunate that meditation and guided meditations, even yoga classes are available to us online. And depending on where you are in the world, some of these things can be seen as easily accessible. For me, where I am, there is Wi-Fi almost everywhere. And so you can do these practices almost everywhere. And I hope for everyone that's listening tonight, I'd love for you to just get into this 5-minute meditation with me. This is going to start us off on our journey tonight. We're also going to be speaking about social media and, being able to kind of use social media to our advantage and not let it take over our lives. So just taking a look at some of the trends that are existing right now and how I will tell you some ways that I have been able to utilize these tools. And I'd love again to hear from you on how you utilize some tools and how you are able to perhaps even use mindfulness to be able to direct your life and to be able to achieve your goals. All right. So, getting right into our guided meditation, I invite you to close your eyes and return and take your attention to the present. I want you to let go of anything in your mind that's telling you to be anywhere else. I want you to know and say to yourself, even out loud if you like, I am exactly where I need to be. I encourage you to integrate mindfulness into your daily life as it can bring you clarity, peace, and a deeper connection to ourselves and our cultural heritage. I invite you now to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, releasing any tension in your body. Let's start by checking in with ourselves and noticing the sensations in your body, feeling the gentle rise and fall of your breath. being aware of any thoughts and emotions that arise without judgment, and simply observing them as they come and go. Now, let's shift our focus to the present moment, taking a few moments to connect with your breath, following its natural rhythm, feeling the air entering each nostril on each inhale and leaving your body on each exhale, allowing your breath to anchor you in the present moment. As we continue our meditation, let's take a few moments to reflect on the power of mindfulness in our lives as Afro Caribbean millennials. Consider how mindfulness can help us embrace our cultural heritage, find balance, and navigate the complexities of our identities. Allow these thoughts to fill you with a sense of gratitude and empowerment. Now, let's take a moment of silence to practice mindfulness and simply be present in this moment. We're going to take 3 long breaths in and 3 long breaths out. And I want you to observe your breath and allow your mind to settle. And if your thoughts wander, gently guide your attention back to your breath and enhance this state of stillness and tranquility. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Another deep breath in, feeling the belly rise. And as the belly comes in towards the spine, exhaling, pushing all the air out of your lungs. And we're going to take one more deep breath in and hold at the top of your inhalation and exhale with a sigh. And as we bring our meditation to a close, we want to take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, slowly opening your eyes and taking a moment to reflect on how this meditation has made you feel, noticing any shifts in the body, mind, or emotions, and allowing yourself to now be fully present in this moment. Thank you for joining me in this meditation, and I encourage you to integrate mindfulness into your daily life as it can bring, again, clarity, peace, and a deeper connection to ourselves. And stay tuned as we delve into more mindfulness techniques that you can utilize to help achieve your goals and elevate your life. All right. So we've experienced a very brief meditation together and setting our intention for our exploration of mindfulness in the lives of Afro Caribbean millennials. Now, let's dive deeper into their experiences and perspectives. Okay, so as Afro Caribbean millennials, we have a rich tapestry of traditions, stories, and resilience that shapes our journeys. Mindfulness can help us honor our roots and stay connected to our culture and foster a sense of belonging while pursuing our dreams. And I will say that this is definitely something that has really helped me, mindfulness and meditation in particular, to be able to see myself in my ancestors' dreams. I do know, I will say for myself, and I'm sure there's many that relate out there, that it can be a huge weight on your shoulders to carry your ancestors' dreams, carry your parents' dreams. Many of us, I know for me, I am a first generation Canadian. That means that my parents came from somewhere else. And actually, today I put in my background my heritage. You might not see the whole thing, but I am Guyanese. That means I'm from South America, but we have very strong West Indian and Caribbean roots. And that's what I identify with, as well as being African, and brought to the land of Guyana, many, many, many years ago. And we'll get into that one day as well about, how that happened, the African diaspora. That's where my family ended up. All of that to be said, it can be a huge weight to have all that history on your shoulders and feeling as though the things that you want out of life don't exactly align with the things that maybe your ancestors were thinking about being necessary. They were in survival mode. And many of us right now are still in survival mode. And we are not able to see ourselves separate from the dreams of our parents and our ancestors. At the same time, for me, it's very important for me to be able to break generational curses and build generational wealth. And I believe that is what my ancestors wanted and my parents. Now, how we get to doing that looks very different. And that's what I mean about seeing yourself as separate. I don't recommend, that if you want to have a close relationship with your family, that you just separate yourself like that from the things that they have instilled in you. At the same time, it's important to examine what those things are and where those ideas came from. And I know that a lot of the way that we think, the way that we feel, even the way that we look, comes from our ancestors, comes from their experience being where they were at the time. Many of us don't even know. I'm one of them that doesn't really know. And I giggle, but that's my fawning, because sometimes when my instinct is to run away or fight or flight, there's also this other um, paradigm of fawning where you don't know what to do, so you kind of just laugh. That is me. I tend to try to laugh off really hard things that are difficult, challenging topics for me to think about. I tend to laugh them off. That was my technique that I utilized before I found meditation. And I still, we're practicing. So it's not overnight that these habits will change, but with the practice of things like meditation, of deep breathing, these are the things that have helped me go from like 100 to not quite zero, but I would say that I'm at a cool 24. I feel like 24 is my number. And that being said, I'm able now to remember much quicker. The space between me reacting and me feeling something and reacting to something has become a lot wider. I have given myself more space to be able to feel, think, think in between that space, think, and then react. It sometimes works and it sometimes doesn't, but again, practice makes progress. And so I encourage you again to utilize some of these ways of thinking in order to be able to help yourself achieve the goals and elevate your life. Okay. And today, I'm honored to be able to bring you all of these kind of tips and tricks and techniques. I've been chatting with people throughout the week, and we've been discussing how can millennials use mindfulness to be able to elevate their lives. Now, one of the ways is meditation. And I definitely recommend this for the folks in our community because of all, the trauma that we've been through post slavery. And depending on who you're asking, sometimes it doesn't feel like, slavery is quite over. Or that mindset that brought us to slavery. Although, we're not in chains and whips are not being actively used on us, there are, I believe, mental whips and chains that still exist, and they are in the hands of some gatekeepers. And another way that I have found to be able to overcome that conundrum of the fact that that still exists is through writing. So I want to take you on this journey that, I want to connect the dots. I don't want you to be sitting there like, how does this all connect? She was first talking about millennials and social media. And now we went into a meditation. And now we are here talking about how this connects to our culture and why it is so important for young Afro Caribbean millennials and everyone. But I'm speaking to my people right now because I know, I guess, firsthand what we've been through. And I want to speak to you and say that it's really important for you to incorporate some mindfulness techniques. And so definitely meditation has helped me. And that's why I want to make meditation as short or as long as we can. But I want to introduce you a little bit to that if you haven't been a part of it. And if you are a part of that community or you know about meditation and mindfulness, then this is a refresher or, in so many ways. I hope this feels like a refreshing breath of fresh air to be able to speak about things that help you to grow, help you to connect to the goals that you have for yourself. I can't say that enough because I think that as a young person, I didn't hear it enough. And so that's what makes me so passionate about bringing these tools to my community, especially to people that, are thinking and feeling and looking like me. That being said, I mentioned it a little while back. Maybe you were listening, but I dropped it. Writing has been a huge, huge tool that has helped me to be able to elevate. And it's interesting because meditation and writing, I find that writing is a meditative practice for me, which is why I brought it into mindfulness techniques. Because when I write, I'm able to, one, process feelings that sometimes are just too big for me to really think about. And then it gives me that space that I was talking about earlier where I felt something and need to or I want to respond, but what will that response be? I would love that to be something that I've thought about and that now I am responding instead of just reacting. So I'm giving myself that space by writing. Writing really helps me to do that. I have taken that writing and then developed it into meditation sometimes, but also poetry. So you may have noticed my hat. I love this hat just because like it's lit, right? But I also this hat makes me think of one of the other things that I am very passionate about, and that is poetry. And now I am going to bring together all of the things that we have been discussing today because we are on social media, and I wanted to just basically utilize this very moment to show the power of social media. The fact that I can connect with, 130 countries around the world, which is where we are able to do with Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk online radio. I got it. So you are listening to us right now in 130 countries on at least 5 different social media platforms, and that is because of the fact that we have evolved so quickly in technology. When I was a kid, not that many years ago, these technologies did not exist. And so this is one of the ways that I am able to utilize those tools in a positive way. I promised you earlier that I would talk about, utilizing social media in a positive way. And I think that one of those ways is finding a message that you're passionate about and disseminating it or giving it out to the world, because you never know who you are inspiring. And this leads me into this segment. And I'm going to share with you a piece that I created and wrote. And this piece is one that I wrote because it was at a time when I didn't feel as though, we're just going to adjust this right here so you can hear me well. All right. All right. Here we go. Okay. So this piece is called Enough. And I wrote this piece because I think that's something that's really important to our lives is perspective. And that is a gift that I believe that mindfulness has given me. And if I could even rewind and let you know another definition that I have for mindfulness, I would say that that is definitely perspective. Keeping your mind full of the different obstacles and opportunities that exist will also allow you to be able to look at the many different angles that exist and understand if you're truly like up the paddle without a creek, or are you up the creek without a paddle? And does it even matter? Do you need the paddle to get home? I know you're wondering, like, what is she talking about? So I'm going to get into my poem. And as I read my poem, I really want to encourage all of you out there, anybody who is a creative, anybody that wants to find a way to channel their feelings into something positive. I am wanting to hand you a gift that I really wish I was given. I really wish that someone when I was younger saw the potential in me to be able to become the person that I am today. I'm really glad I'm here now. I'm so grateful for that. But I must say that, that little girl, that little Elle, um, sometimes I still have conversations with her about the times when I wasn't seen, wasn't heard, and therefore I could not see my value. Um, Even though I know in school we learned about poetry and I was very into it. I remember that, but I also remember that I did not get along very well with my 6th grade teacher. That was when we learned about poetry in school, at least when I was in school, and I think that me not getting along with my teachers, I never really saw myself in my teachers, like, literally didn't see myself. If you're, listening right now, I didn't see no brown skin at school except for a couple of kids and me, and so I didn't see myself in positions of authority, and at that time, I think because at home I grew up in, I think, what others might see as a strict household. Like, I did receive physical discipline, and that discipline made me desensitized to the discipline that was at school. The things that they were doing to me at school, go stand in the corner, go stand outside, any of those things, go to the principal's office, that seemed like a cakewalk to me compared to what would happen to me at home if I tried to even, as my mom would say. So that being said, I say that to say that those practices, that those were how my ancestors were taught to be mindful. We were taught mindfulness through whips and chains. We were not allowed to choose the way to fill our minds. And so therefore, we have a long line of our generations passing down these curses that we did not even have a say in bringing into our lives in the first place. And so I a lot of my poetry, a lot of the things that I write about has a lot to do with trying to mitigate, trying to forgive the things that my parents um brought to my life, but also I'm very thankful. Please don't get it twisted. My parents are amazing and they helped me to shape and become the person that I am. They also were given some tools that, were very outdated, archaic, violent, aggressive, all of these things, that were passed down from people that didn't look like us, who were trying to enslave us. And in order to enslave people, you first must break their minds. And so once they broke our minds, they broke our bodies. And then we, as resilient people, Afro Caribbean people that we are, managed and now have found this way to emancipate ourselves. And so we're in this age of social media, which this is where social media for me comes heavy, heavy, heavy. And I know I said I was going to read my poem, but I'm really going to read it near the end of our broadcast today. I really now am feeling very passionate about this topic. And I hope you can see all the connections that we're making today. in mindfulness, bringing that together with, our cultural heritage, and how does mindfulness help us to mitigate what has happened in our cultures. So much has happened. And for me, I think that just taking deep breaths, like I'm going to take one right now, really helps to biologically calm down the nervous system, because that's what it's designed to do. Your breath does that. It slows down the rate of your blood. It that also signals different neurons to fire in your brain. Different neurotransmitters are going off. They're talking to each other in your brain and to different parts of your brain, and ensuring that your stress response to either fight, flight, or fawn, as I let you know today, that means you're fighting for, your survival, or you're running away so that you can save yourself, or you are trying to fawn, which is like laughing it off, and so that nobody kind of notices you, or that they're not offended by you, so therefore they won't bother you. And you can even see that this happens even within the animal kingdom. There are some animals that are able to fight, like a lion. Yo, I'm gonna get at you. If you get at me, you're done. Now, a mouse, they're gonna run away. They're tiny. They're probably not going to even stay. They're cutting right away at the sign of danger. And then there are animals, like I'm gonna say like a giraffe, who, you know, and I chose giraffe because I'm just thinking about an animal that might not be that fast, although I could be wrong about that. But essentially, what I'm trying to say is that animals that are kind of in the middle, they're not that fast. They're not predators. So they're not lions. They're not ripping your head off. They eat leaves, but they could still mess you up if you mess with them. Like a lion, giraffe's neck is meant as is their weapon, but obviously using their neck as a weapon, that hurts them too. And so giraffes often, because of their stature, are able to kind of, hide amongst trees, for instance. They would be able to like get in there and get away from predators. And also because they're so tall in stature, predators are not sure, like, they're sizing them up and they're like, damn, that's a big animal. I don't think I could get at that one. So I'm gonna leave it alone. So giraffes are that animal that get to kind of fawn. They look really majestic and beautiful. And in human world, this would be a person that's able to just kind of smile and laugh and doesn't really say much, and doesn't get their point across, though, doesn't get their needs met, but is able to exist, right? So I want us to get to a point of elevating beyond these survival tactics that we have been passed down from people that don't look like us. Yes, my mom, she looks like me. My dad looks like me. My grandparents, my great great grandparents, but the people who taught them how to be like we are now, they didn't, right? So that being said, we need to, I think forgiveness is a big thing that I'm working on, and meditation helps me to concentrate on forgiveness, especially when I don't want to feel it. And it helps me to go all the way back, like I just did. That big history and science lesson that I just gave you was all in an attempt to show that these are the kind of things that mindfulness encourages us to be cognizant of, to be thinking of, to be aware that these things exist, that there was this thing called slavery. It was imposed on us by oppressors. These oppressors were white. These white people came from other lands and they did it to other cultures. And some of them are still doing it today. Knowing these things helps us to understand that, for instance, imagine when my ancestors were going through that. Imagine, it took hundreds of years for us to shape, like to become where we're at today. And so therefore it was this evolution. The same way that, if you believe in the theory of evolution, let's just say for a moment you do, right? Indulge me for a moment and you believe that all people come from animals, right? And that we evolved from animals. We learned how to walk on 2 feet, became bipedal. That's what, 2 feet walking means. And then In doing that, we dropped other things that we knew how to do, like climb trees, etc. And so we evolved into what we needed to best survive in our environments. And now, ergo, this is how we look because I'm going to say this in a nice way that we don't need to survive the way that we did before. And so therefore, our lifestyles are a lot more comfortable. That's what I'm gonna say. They're a lot more comfortable, and so therefore our bodies, they don't need to be, fit for battle and fit for foraging and all of these things, right? So how did we get here? How did we get here? Right now, what we're talking about is keeping our minds full. But what do we keep our minds full of? Now, there is you do run a risk of keeping your mind full of things that can really harm you. And so, I brought up something and for anyone at home, that was listening and they weren't expecting me to go there with this conversation, I do want to like please forgive me if it triggered you in any way. And we will do a short meditation to check out. So to make sure that everyone's okay and decompresses and is able to let go of this information, but in a way that helps you to elevate. So for me, how did all of this information help me to elevate? Well, I told you that I love writing. I love writing. And writing helped me to process really big feelings. It also helped me to say things like I told you at home as opposed to school where I could say and do anything I wanted because I just didn't receive the same discipline at school. It didn't scare me, right? Like to be honest, it just didn't phase me as much like until things were taken away and then I started wising up. And that's why I would never encourage kids or anyone to be the way that I was, but what I would encourage is for teachers to take a look at those students that you think are just here to disrupt your life and understand that perhaps even beyond like were things going on at home? Sure. So that question I think needs to be reformed. Like to say, what's going on at home? I don't think that's enough. I think forgetting about that because kids are probably not, especially West Indian kids, Caribbean kids, I'm just not telling you what's happening at home. That is not how my parents brought me up. You keep your business about home at home. And so if kids are still growing up this way, we're still having this idea that we need to hide, and this is how our parents are raising us, then I think that society is what needs to shift, truly. Society needs to recognize that we have been through a lot. Some people are recognizing this, the trauma that we have been through clearly informs the way that we act now. Why are we aggressive? Because we were taught to be aggressive, and this is not an excuse to say that, oh, everyone, because you're black and this happened to you, you can act this way. No. What I want you to do is to be able to take this information and to understand how to use it to empower yourself beyond where you are and to go to where you want to be. Now, one of the ways that I have been able to do that is through art. Art has saved my life. And when found that I was truly an artist, was when I started to realize that my diary entries have been poems all along. I used to sing, like, I used to make up songs all the time whenever I was like on my own, or like whenever I could, I would run away and try to like sing a song on my own. And I wouldn't write anything down when I was a kid. But I got a diary, I think when I was about 8 or 9. It was a Lion King one. Shout out to my mom for Christmas. And I remember that I would just write. I would just write about the things that were happening. I wasn't trying to rhyme. So I guess I was more of a prose person, and just writing these really long passages about what was happening, how I was feeling, sometimes stories, sometimes they were made up. And all my life I've been doing that. And I didn't really tell a lot of people like that I did that. Not even my teachers, they never asked. And that's another thing. I think, like, as an educator, questions that you can ask are, like, about what are your other interests? Beyond what I'm showing you, what are some of your other interests? I could see how some other students were fostered, but me, I was not. I definitely think that because of the color of my skin, I was streamed into lots of situations that really just started to make me feel like an outsider. And in order, but humans want to belong. It's like an innate thing in us that we want to belong. Even the people who say they don't, I'm telling you, isolation is a killer, bigger than, any even heart attacks. They have now have studies that when you isolate yourself, that you actually are slowly or quickly, you're more quickly killing yourself. So being on your own is not, it's just not even the human way, to be honest. It's like almost impossible to completely be on your own. You will always have to face some sort of element. And those elements, will show you how human you are. Even animals do not live on their own. So that being said, all of that, all of that, all of that, all of that, where's that bringing us right now? Is that mindfulness, keeping your mind full of some of the things that can help you to elevate. For me, again, it was my ancestors thinking about what they've been through. It really helped me to change my perspective on the way that I used to act. Even though, yeah, I told you this story about how I acted or how I was treated in school. I also know that I had a part in that. I wasn't taught, by my parents to act in a certain way. I just acted out because of things that nobody really saw that I was interested in. And I really loved art. I loved singing. I loved writing. And I was kind of streamed into sports. And I love sports. I love sports. But it was like more so because of this that they said, you be good at sports instead of arts for me. And a lot of other things, which we will get into. I have a story. I have lots of stories, and I want to hear yours too. And I'm going to bring on other millennials who will also let you know about the things that they have been through and how it has shaped their lives. This is the conversation that's shaping the generation. And we're listening live on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Talk Radio. And I am your host, Elle Leon. Tonight, we've been talking about mindfulness. We've been connecting that with social media and the fact that, you can get a lot of mindfulness now on social media. And it's important to be mindful of what you're getting on there and utilizing social media in a positive way. So, one of the ways that I have been able to do that is finally over the pandemic, I started sharing more of my art because one, there wasn't much to do, but I was making art at an insane rate more than ever before. And I think that I really, really found myself as an artist. As I said, I've been writing for years, poetry and songs, but not rehearsing or reciting it. And finally, we've come to the end of the episode. So I'm definitely going to recite this poem for you. And this poem is one that I wrote because of all of these topics that I was speaking about today. So I promise that, you know, my my roundabout way of coming to this point had a point. And really, I was trying to build a bridge. My mentor told me, whether or not you are trying to build a bridge or are you trying to make a point. And if I was trying to make a point, I would just quickly tell you, what I think mindfulness is and what you should do. But I'm just hoping that through listening to me, that you gain a better perspective on what maybe you should do for you. And I think that perspective is one of those things that really helps you to elevate yourself. And I'm going to just let my poem do the rest of the talking for me. And before I do that, I do want to let everyone know that next week is going to be the last Wednesday in the month. And every last Wednesday of the month is going to be a special time. All right. It's going to be special. What we're going to do is we are going to be having a virtual open mic. As I said, I was making crazy art over the pandemic. And one of the things I was able to do was I was able to host a virtual open mic show. And that was something that now I kind of miss. And now that I have this podcast, thank you to Love Bay Radio, I want to bring that back. So every last Wednesday of the month, I want to hear from you. This is where the viewers get to come in with me. There's going to be a link, all right, that you join. And you're going to join me on StreamYard, and then you can show me your talent. I want to hear from you and hear your talent. All right. So, this is my talent. This is my poetry. This is also going to be our healing meditation. I actually call this my healing manifestation meditation. And this poem is called Enough. I want you to close your eyes again. Let's check out with each other. Think about all the things that I have shared with you tonight and think about how we might use these in our lives. Now, I want to invite you to just listen to my words. And then at the end of this, you will be able to formulate some ideas for yourself. Thank you so much for listening. This is Enough. The only thing that is keeping you from getting you what you want is the story you keep telling you. If you change everything that you say to you, everything you say and do will change for you. The only thing you can change when you can't change where you're at is your perspective on what you have and how you think what's good is bad. When sometimes good is just what's familiar. Comfort to a fool like clouds lying to a silver, and sometimes the things that you think that are bad are really good things that you haven't yet had. And what is truly valuable is how you know which way to go, how you know which do's are don'ts, and how you find the will to won't. Stay within your comfort zone and be your own detective, inspector of conceptions that misdirect the senses that you believed were senseless, but you still accepted. And if you accepted, then you can reject it. Your mistakes are only a reflection of who you were and not directions to where you're headed. You can still be everything you want to be and nothing they expected. Your mistakes are only a reflection of who you were and not directions to where you're headed. You can still go everywhere you want to go and nowhere they expected. For too long, you put their feelings about your feelings about yourself. These feelings became thoughts, and these feelings they dwelled, and these feelings got caught, and these feelings they swelled, and now these feelings they flow right over your wellness. You are not well, yes. You are up the creek without a paddle. No paddling up the creek. They herded you from cattle because you acted like a sheep. Someone who is strong but acts like they are weak, following along, pretending to be someone who they're not, someone who's happy. You put yourself down to bring others up. You poured into them till you emptied your cup. And now you're so thirsty, deserted by love. Somehow you're still drowning. Don't feel like enough. You are more than a dysregulated nervous system rooted in unhealed trauma. This is how many stay reeling in drama. Thought you was a period, but you're really a comma. And the best is yet to come should really be your mantra. The thing you need to tell yourself is what you tell your daughter, your son or your sister or your mother or your father. And this is what I mean when I say let's heal ancestral trauma. Scars on the pretty things, let's put away the petty things. I'm letting go of anything that keeps me from discovering that I am less than everything the world has left to offer. I am enough in the skin I am in. I am enough in the skin I am in. I am enough in the skin I am in, and everything that I want in this life I can win. I am the master of my mind. The alchemist is I, and I decide how I live by my design. I am enough in the skin I am in. I am enough in the skin I am in. I am enough in the skin I am in, and everything that I want in this life, I can win. I am the master of my mind. The alchemist is I, and I decide to define how I live by my design. And so, the only thing that is keeping you from getting you what you want is the story you keep telling you. And if you change everything that you say to you, everything that you say and do will change for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I want to let you know that coming up next, we have amazing show and you don't want to miss that. It's the Business Bellas They're coming up at 8 o'clock. Thank you so much. We will be back next week at 7 p.m. Peace and blessings, y'all.